Coming up today, we got stocks itching up higher. We got some great news, more deals, stocks like Boeing, Nvidia, Tesla, Apple coming up, and way more. We're going to be giving you guys the plays, supports, and resistance, and how to make a lot of money in this market, and some things to be careful about, especially the market dips. Let's get started. So, to start, we have a bunch of deals with Nvidia, and Nvidia stock extends gains as Saudi Arabia set to spend billions on AI chips. US moves to reside Biden's chip curbs. So basically, the H20 that was designed previously for Biden's chip rule is now allowed again, but they're kind of making a new one that kind of works with the new chip ban. And that is just bringing NVIDIA up even more. We're at 135. This is a key level to watch, especially 135. If we could break above this level, because we were here previously, we might even see a bigger gain. Look at 140 and 150 to the next. But just have your patience with NVIDIA, and we're going to look at some more. We're going to look at it on the charts a little bit later, but just wanted to say that. And we got some decent news with Apple. Might not move it too much, and haven't really seen Apple move too much off this news, but basically saying that Apple doesn't have to make their products in the US. And honestly, it's not really, it's kind of just like a statement. It's not really saying that, they don't have to at all. But honestly, this is good and bad because they did have a bunch of money invested into the US to bring their products and jobs to the US. But at the same time, if they don't do it, that's less money into the US. But honestly, more profit for Apple. For the individual stock, it's okay. So yeah, keep that in mind. Retail stocks are still at risk with potential tariff-driven price hikes. So keep in mind that even with this relief, this 90-day relief, tariffs are still higher than they were before. So retails and just the daily consumer might be affected, and you might see some data like this a little bit later that can bring certain stocks down and or the overall SPY. So keep that in mind, especially if it is higher prices than we expected, and or just businesses are not really adjusting to the tariffs. Trump says U.S. to lift Syria sanctions and also secures $600 billion in the Saudi deal. We're getting a bunch of money right now. There's a lot of great news coming out. We're just getting overloaded with great news, making the market go up higher. I really want to see SPY maybe hitting that 600 level, maybe by the end of this week and or next week, and or we just start selling off at that 590 at that 590 level, honestly. With that being said, our annual inflation rate cooled to 2.3%, which is honestly just data that came out decent yesterday. So next, Coinbase. So basically, they're rocking at 15%, but honestly, I think it's more like 20%, 20 to 25%. After joining the S&P 500, this is great news on Coinbase. So look at it to the upside. We're going to be looking at it a little bit later to see how it really moved today because that news was out yesterday. So I really just want to see some plays that we can make, especially if Bitcoin is moving pretty strong. CPI report basically slowed more than expected. So honestly, some more things kind of just like bringing the pressure down to say. And Boeing, man, Boeing has been getting a bunch of orders and got unbanned from China. So look at Boeing to the upside. We're going to look at some price targets later. But we do have Qatar Airways up to 210 wide body jets ordered. And then Saudi, they got up to 30 jets ordered. And then US Air Force, of course, we got the F-47 fighter jet. We got a bunch of orders basically. So keep that in mind. And honestly, I think we might be able to get up back up to that 209 level, but watch 209 to 210 for Boeing. Just want to say I came out with a guide for long-term investing. It has 40 plus stocks and it teaches you the fundamentals and basics of trading. So you can use this on your long terms, short terms, swing trades, day trades, anything like that. Everything that you really need to know in the market is in this. So go check it out if you guys want. First link in the description below. If not, that's okay. I'll give you guys everything that you guys really need in the videos anyway. This is just to help you guys out and have it with you by your side when you trade. So overall, man, for the month, we're looking pretty good. But for the day, we're kind of up and down and we're kind of slowing down, not really showing the moves that we've seen yesterday, except for some key stocks like Nvidia and Tesla still up 4%. And we might be able to close a little bit higher and or a little bit lower, depending on how news really comes out. But for the overall week, we are looking great. And honestly, Nvidia up almost 20%, Apple 6%, Tesla 25%. Amazon 13%, just moving insane. So one thing that I really want to look at is oil, because oil, we did have a big sell at first, and then kind of just been up and down around this range. But oil has been moving up and down a decent amount, but honestly, it's not really looking too bad. Next, let's talk about overall. Let's talk about SPY. So getting into SPY, man, we're kind of around VWAP now. We did have a big sell off recently, and it has kind of just been moving at that 589 to all the way down to that 585 range. But realistically, we've been bouncing at that 586 to around 588.5. But honestly, man, we have to see how it reacts to that 590 level, because if we can break above 590, we can watch 595 and then maybe get that 600 level and or not even hit it and just start selling off. But honestly, man, just have your patience with SPY, see how it moves. We did have a big sell off a few times, honestly. But with that being said, some levels to watch for the rest of the day and for tomorrow is at 588.5, 589, and then 590. If we can break above that 590, look at 591.5, 592.5, and then all the way up to that 595 level and look at 600 next. And then if we do start selling off, look at some lower levels like 587, 586.5, and then that 585.8, the lows. And then before that, I want you guys to look at 585 and then that 580 level for the SPY. Just take your time, like I said, and just be patient. Apple, man, we had some highs of 213, kind of just been kind of bouncing above this range. This kind of what I've seen in stocks. Yesterday's highs, we kind of been bouncing around that level, especially with Palantir. We're going to get to that a little bit later. But with that being said, for Apple, right now we are looking a little bit bearish for the day. So to the downside, look at 212, 211.5, and then all the way down to that 210 level. If we bounce below that, look at 209, and then 208, and then all the way down to that 205. To the upside, look at 212.5, and then 213.5, and then all the way up to 214. If you can bounce above 214, 215, and then 220. So keep that in mind for Apple. Take your time. We do got some decent news with Apple, but honestly, key stocks that are moving right now, NVIDIA. We do have Google. We're going to be talking about Google. Kind of had a little bit of a fake out. Both NVIDIA, we did break some highs for the day, and honestly, just highs that we haven't really seen in a while. So 135 is going to be a key level to watch. If we can stay above this and or hold above this, we will be looking good. But honestly, man, maybe during pre-market hours, we might be able to get that 135 tomorrow. But keep 135 on your radar. Above that, look at 136, 137.5, and then 140. If you bounce above that 140, look at 145 and 150. To the downside, look at 134.5, 133.5, and then all the way down to that 132 level. And then maybe the lows of 131.2 from pre-market, and then all the way down to that 130 level is going to be key for NVIDIA. But honestly, man, if it can keep this rally up, especially with a bunch of orders and stuff like that, I think NVIDIA can keep on looking great. Before we get to the next one, let's get to Boeing, because Boeing, honestly, man, we're getting just a lot of great news with Boeing. You know, like in China, now they can buy Boeing, so you might get some more deals with China, and then you're just getting a bunch of other people ordering Boeing jets, basically in general. But to the upside, look at 207.18, 209.3. That 209 level is going to be key, honestly. Watch that 209. If we can break above that, look at 210, 215, and 220. And then to the downside, look at 205, 204, and then all the way down to that 203 level. So just have your just take your time on Boeing, and honestly just play it when we get good deals. But honestly, it already pushes up. Like when we get some great news, it pushes up and it has a big sell off at the same time. So honestly, man, this one you just have to get the news early and or just trade at the low ranges and hope for a deal. That's kind of just gambling. But next one I want to talk about is indeed Palantir, because Palantir isn't really moving too strong, especially today. We did see some. I mean, it broke the highs, and we also seen 133.5. But honestly, just had a big sell off and then just been moving downward ever since. So with that being said, for Palantir to the downside, which I think we are looking at, I think we might be able to get down to 126 and then make a bounce upwards, and or maybe even 127, make a bounce upwards. But right now, look at 128.5. If we bounce lower, that's just new lows for the day. And then past that level, look at 127.5, and then 127, and then 126. We might get a bounce off one of those, but if we don't, 125 will be the next level. And then to the upside, look at 130, of course, which is, I mean, the previous highs, I guess, except for today. Look at 130, 131.5, and the highs of 133.5. And then look at 134.5, 135, and then 140 next. But honestly, take your time at Palantir. I just don't think that Palantir is in the light right now. We're just getting main stocks like NVIDIA, stuff like that, kind of getting some hype, and just stocks that are related to news. So unless we get some great news with Palantir, I think we might just be honestly just consolidating, because we kind of seen this yesterday too, bouncing around the same ranges as we bounced today. So honestly, just take your time and just be patient, especially with these lows right here. We had some lows here. So honestly, man, just take your time at Palantir. Don't overtrade. Don't get FOMO or anything like that. And just take your time. Next one we're going to be talking about is Tesla, because Tesla has been looking pretty decent in the short term, especially right now. We're bouncing at around that 350. So 350 is going to be key. If we can break above 350, look at 352.5 and that 355, and then 360. If we can break above 360, 365, and 370 to the downside, look at 345. And then below that 345, look at 338. and then all the way down to 320 and then 300. But that's just some key levels. I think we'll just need bad news to start selling off. But depending on which way Tesla moves, if it's moving upwards like it is right now, it's going to move up and continue that flow for a little bit. And then once we start selling off, it's going to continue to sell off for a little bit. So honestly, Tesla is just that one that kind of just stays in one direction. And honestly, unless like news or something like changes it, it kind of just stays in the same direction. So keep that in mind. Next, we're going to talk about is Google because we did have a little bit of a fake out, but a lot of stocks honestly sold off. But Google did start rallying and it started selling off. And then we got some decent news with China and stuff like that. And then we just been rallying ever since. So for Google, look at that 170 level. We can bounce above that 170. Look at 171.5, 173.2, and that 180 level. Today, this is probably the most I ever seen Google move in a while. Like it literally, like this day 157 all the way up to like 162 isn't really a big move, but for Google this one was a big move too. But we normally move like $1 or $2 for Google, so we have been moving pretty decently today. But honestly, man, just take your time with this one because we are pretty high. We might get a little bit of a sell off, maybe down to like that 165 to like that 163.5, and then maybe make a rally back up. But just take your time with Google because we might be selling off soon, and or might keep on rallying, honestly. But honestly, just take your time. Please don't please don't FOMO right here. It's like the FOMO zone where you might lose a bunch of money. So Bitcoin, man, Bitcoin kind of has been kind of looking not bearish, but honestly, just more like a lot of selling pressure, basically. With that being said, we do got a lot of key news. There has been some things saying that Bitcoin can maybe take over the US dollar by 2030, which is insane. But honestly, man, just take your time with Bitcoin. Don't overtrade. And honestly, man, some stocks to watch with Bitcoin is MSTR. And we had some highs of 425 today, and we're all the way down to 415. So just like a $10 move downwards. But to the upside, look at 420, 425, and that 430 level. And then to the downside from here, look at 410, and then all the way down to that 400 level. And then if we break below 400, look at 395 and then 390, basically just in the fives, basically. And then next is Coinbase. We have been looking pretty decent with Coinbase, just with the S&P getting added to S&P, and just some great news with Coinbase overall. So to the upside, look at 265 and then 270. To the downside, look at 258.5, 255, and then all the way down to that 250 level. And then past that, look at 248.8. We might get a little bounce off of that. But honestly, just watch how Bitcoin moves and just trade based on how Bitcoin is moving. Next one that I want to look at is IBIT. It's basically ETF that moves with Bitcoin, so it's going to move exactly with Bitcoin, but the options are pretty cheap. It's like $300 for in the money option plays. You can buy a little bit out of the money, maybe $200, maybe just a few points out, and you might be able to get some decent money. But honestly, man, with that being said, thanks for watching the video. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.